Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the NBL1 Show. Thanks to Coles Express, I'm Megan Hustwaite. Well, what a magnificent round it was at the weekend. Play for BCNA, raising much needed awareness and funds for breast cancer. It was amazing to see what all of our conferences, clubs and players did, turning basketball stadiums around the country pink for a wonderful cause. Well, we've got a massive show coming up today. We're going to talk to our experts right around the nation, but we've also got two magnificent guests. And I love these two guests. They're both at contrasting points of their career, but poster boys and poster girls for NBL1. Let's crack into it. Well, Laura Hodges has achieved it all during her international basketball career, but now she's reached a very special highlight, back playing in NBL1 for her junior club, and she joins us on the show this week. Welcome, Laura. How is it being a Sabre once again?
Oh, thanks for having me. Oh, it's a little bit surreal, I must admit. The last time I played for the Sabres was in 2002, so 21 years ago. I was 18, and I must admit, I always thought I'd come back and play for Sturt, but then as my career went on and I became a mum, I was like, oh, well, that's never going to happen. And with a lot of pestering and a little bit of convincing, I finally said yes, and I still don't know why I'm doing it because I really don't think the team needs me, but it's lots of fun and they're keeping me young, that's for sure.
I love that. You grew up idolising Rachel Sport and you would get to play with her as you came through the ranks. So it's pretty amazing that a lot of these kids, both girls and boys, would have grown up watching you as a South Australian great, and now they have the chance to play with and against you in NBL1 Central. Now, let's talk about your career. 4 Olympics, which was incredible. A World Championship in 2006, Commonwealth Games. You played in Europe with success as well. You've achieved so much. Is playing overseas throughout that time a big reason why you sort of never thought you'd get the chance to come back and play for your junior club again?
Yeah, I think so. When I was playing the big stints in Europe and then coming back and going on lots of Opals tours, which I love to do, and I probably could have played a few games here or there, but Sturt have always been a strong club, and it would have meant that I would have been one of those restricted players. So to take a spot away from someone that could play the whole season seemed a little bit silly, and I didn't really want to play for anyone else. I grew up in a house that was 2 streets away from where the old Sturt Stadium was, and that's why I started playing for the club. My older sisters played, and my parents thought that it was a local thing to do and a local sport to play in. And they didn't realise you'd then have to travel interstate on long weekends and travel all around South Australia. We weren't from a basketball family. My mum played a lot of netball and my dad played Aussie rules. So, but I'm so fortunate that I did play for the Sturt Sabres. It's where some of my best friends from today in my junior teams, and I've been bridesmaids in weddings, and it's probably what brought the best out of me. I was a really shy kid and I never liked trying new things, and I think it just has created sort of the person that I am today. So I'm very, very grateful for the Sturt Basketball Club.
It's amazing to hear about the impact that the club has had on your life personally and professionally, and a Sabre through and through. How did it get to the point that you'd suit up this season? Because as you mentioned, you're a mum, you've got Ava and Mia, although you did come back and play in the WNBL, which was amazing as a mum. But how did push come to shove, and how did they get you back on the court for this season?
It's quite funny because I was an assistant coach last year, and last year they tried to get me to play, and I think because actually Lauren Jackson was playing, I was like, no, I cannot do what Lauren Jackson does, and that's what everyone would expect me to do. I'm not the GOAT. I can't do that. All the things that I had in my game that was special was my athleticism. I could jump, I could run all day, and then I'm 40 this year and I can't do that. But then my nieces and nephews play for the club now, And I just thought, why not? I don't have to be the player that I was. And I would join in on a few drills here and there. And I was the tallest person on the bench being a coach. And they're like, we just need some more height. So I finally agreed to saying yes, because I said that if our import last year signs again this year, I'll play with her, because I know she'll do all the grunt work. And Michaela has been a brilliant player. She's a great teammate. And she signed on again. So then I had to kind of do it. And I am really enjoying it. The start of the season didn't go so well. I thought I was in my 20s and probably trained too much and got a little bit injured. So the last few weeks have been good, and I've been able to manage sort of the 15 minutes a game, and it's lots of fun, and they're certainly keeping me young. And the fact that I'm 40 this year, I think it's now or never. So I'm glad that my girls can actually watch me play. And although on the weekend, on the Saturday night game, Ava was coming up to me a lot and giving me kisses on the cheek and distracting me a little bit. So, but it was very sweet to have her there and actually being excited that her mum was on the court.
Yeah, how special, because like with Lauren, who you played in a lot of Opal's representation basketball with, her children never saw her play, and obviously they've heard things about her and they will as they grow older, but it's the same with Ava and Mia, right? So it must be so special to be able to play and have them at the stadiums, like, you know, you were a young kid at those stadiums around South Australia once.
Yeah, it is very special, and I do have to take them out to the Thursday night practice because it's quite early and my husband's still working, and they really love coming out. I mean, there's a lot of textures and a lot of drawing on the side of the court and a lot of snacks to keep them busy. But Mia, the 2-year-old, she loves going to practice, and if she sees me put on my uniform, she wants to come there with me. So that seems very special. And Ava's 4 now, and she's actually doing her first training session this weekend. The fact that her older cousins are in the under-10s team, and she's probably a bit young, but she's just going to do a couple of little training sessions. I don't think I'm ready for it, but she really wants to go out there now too. So I'm not sure she can dribble the basketball yet, but it's very sweet that she wants to be out there now. And I think maybe because I actually she sees me training and not just sitting on the sideline coaching. So hopefully she'll love the game just as much as I do.
Oh, she's mimicking mum. That's very cute. Laura, before we let you go, we had Ben Henshall on the show as well today, who's playing for the COE in NBL East, and he's just signed his first contract with the Perth Wildcats in the NBL. How special is the NBL1 competition? Because just our guest today is a teenager at the start of his basketball journey that's playing in NBL1 and getting different things out of this competition. And then someone like you that's won Olympic medals, played at 4 Olympics, and had 2 babies and come back to play for their junior club, which is so sentimental and special. It's pretty incredible when a league that is right around Australia can offer those sort of things to such a wide range of players.
Oh, it is really special. And the fact that this past weekend I have been able to play against WNBL players, and it makes me feel like that just the special time that I have on the court, I hopefully in the future when they are Opals or playing around Australia, that I'm like, I got to actually play with them. But there's a special person in our team, Taylor Brazel, who she did her ACL last year, so she didn't get to play for the Sabres, and she has been working so hard, and she's gone into the under-19s Australian camp today, and I wish that whole squad the best of luck. But to be able to see her, she missed out on the WNBL season. She did sign with Adelaide, and she will hopefully play for them next year. But the fact that she's being able to play this season and come up against people like Alex Wilson and Morgan Yeager, and be able to be at that standard, and to be able to have that at a young age, and then know that you're improving your game in the off season, it's just really important for our Australian players to keep improving and forming more Opals or Boomers in the journey.
Yeah, you're spot on. And the Sabres, NBL1 Central, and this whole competition is so lucky to have not only a player of your calibre, but person like you around your club and the league. So it's great to see you back on court, Laura. Thank you so much for your time today, and good luck to you and Sabres for the rest of the season.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for always doing what you do too, for promoting especially the women's game, and not only what you're doing in the WNBL. It's pretty special. So keep up the good work, and can't wait to see you on the shining lights as well. Maybe you'll be over in the WNBA commentating some of our Australian opals over there at the moment.
Well, we love having the Basketball Australia COE part of NBL1 East, because we've got some of the best talent in the land in action in NBL1. And one of those talents joins us now on the NBL1 show this week, Ben Henshall. Great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you enjoying the season? You're in some great touch with the COE, coming off a 25.9 assist, 6 rebound, 2 steal performance at the weekend. How are you enjoying the season?
Yeah, it's been really good so far. We've got a chance to finally play some games, which we lacked earlier in the year and last year. So it's good to finally get out there and put our training to action.
So averaging just a touch under 20 points and 5 assists per game. What kind of stuff are you working on in terms of your own individual game in this NBL1 East campaign?
Yeah, I'm really just working on becoming more of a point guard. I've just recently picked that up towards the end of last year. So I've been working closely with the coaches on like my ability to make plays off of screens, make reads off the screens, be able to shoot the ball a bit better. And we do a lot of training here, so it's good to finally see that the training's been paying off.
So you just mentioned that you do a lot of training. Tell us a bit about what life is like at the COE, you know, what a general day might look like, because there's a lot of training, but I'm sure the best part of the week is probably playing.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I'm a grad, so it's a bit different to the school guys. So we shoot pretty much every morning, every weekday, and then we train every day besides Sunday normally, but we got games now, so we train pretty much every day. Wednesdays and Thursdays are a bit lighter, but it's still getting a few hours in, getting your shots up. But no, it's pretty full on, but it's definitely worth it.
Holding you in good stead for when you join the Wildcats for the upcoming NBL season. You're a WA boy, of course. You must be so excited to go home, but have this opportunity with an iconic club in the league.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be home. I've been away from home for a while. And I've been a big fan of the Wildcats for a long time now. As you said, I grew up in Perth, so I'm super excited to get home and get to work.
Who are some of the point guards that you've looked up to, and who are you looking forward to sort of testing your wares against, whether that's at the Wildcats at practice, but also around the NBL?
Yeah, I was just recently lucky enough to be a part of the Boomer squad, so I got to meet a couple of those guys, guys like Mitch McCarron, Mitch Norton, Nathan Sobey, those guys. Just being in that environment and seeing how they operate, it was a big eye-opener for me, and I'm really excited to see how I go against them in the league.
Couple of massive names there, and some of them playing in NBL1 in conferences around Australia as well. What's it like at the COE playing with a lot of your mates too? It must be super enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. We do everything together. We live together, so I think we all gel well. We all bond well, especially on the court. And I think being able to be this close all the time definitely helps us play better together on the court.
Who do you live with? Give them a shout out.
I live right now with Alex Tui and Jensen Bradkey, but he's sadly just left us this morning.
So you've got to tip these guys in. Who's the worst at housework? Who leaves the bathroom dirty, their towels on the floor? Got to tip him in here, Ben.
Well, Jensen's a neat freak, so his room.
Oh, really?
He's got nothing anywhere. His room's perfect.
He's a minimalist.
Yeah. Tui's a bit different. Tui's he will do his own thing, but no, I think we all keep our pod pretty clean. Our pod's probably one of the nicest at the Tute here. We got a bunch of the international guys here as well, and they're not very good at keeping their pods clean.
You have been out of home, as you mentioned, for a while, so I'm sure you've learnt to do those things. When you move back to Perth, are you going to be living with family or living with some Wildcats teammates?
Yeah, the plan's to live at home. I'm there for 2 years, so first year definitely live at home, and second year I'll probably figure it out, but I'll most likely be at home again.
So living the NBL dream back in your home state, and you get to move back home and have your washing done and your food cooked for you. You are living the life, aren't you, Ben?
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to get home. Someone cooking.
Now, before we let you go, tell us a bit about, I guess, the goals for the rest of the NBL1 campaign in terms of what you want to work on personally and what this team can do together.
Yeah, so the plan for me is to finish out the rest of the NBL1 season here. We got a bunch of guys leaving the college early, so it's going to be a younger squad in the upcoming weeks and months. So I think the goal for us is really just taking it day by day, getting our training done during the week and being able to perform and play our way on the weekends. I think it'll be huge for us to just play our own way. Like, a bunch of guys are leaving, new guys might be coming in, the younger guys are going to have to step up. So for me, I just need to become more of a leader for the younger guys and set by example.
Well, some exciting times and a big, bright future ahead for you, Ben. Can't wait to watch it very closely. Good luck for the rest of the NBL1 season, and good luck for your debut NBL campaign with your hometown Perth Wildcats.
Thank you. Cheers.
Time to talk NBL1 West now, where the streaks were broken at the weekend. Greg Hire, tell us all about how they came to an abrupt halt.
Yeah, well, as we all know, streaks are meant to be broken, and it was supposed to be a celebration on Saturday night in the at the Hot House. And unfortunately, the Rockingham Flames were doused by the Perth Redbacks outfit. They played a tremendous game. They were sensational. Maris Colton, he won't get any MVP votes, but he really restricted Devondrick Walker. The headline will be Bryden Hobbs. He was sensational. He was slicing and dicing. He was just a problem for that Rockingham Flames outfit. They couldn't guard him on the pick and roll. But I thought Tevin Jackson, he was superb. He had 20 points. His plus minus was 35. So he was incredible. But I tell you what, if Mitsubishi Motors are giving away a car for assist of the year, Brian Vokewell has his name all over it. Fourth quarter, he throws a behind the back dime to Bryden Hobbs on a backdoor pass. And so anyone needs to go back and watch that game. It was sensational. Now, the template, if I was any coach around the league, I'd be watching that game because they stymied Rockingham Flames. I know they shot 11% from the three-point line, making 5 for the whole game. That's unlike the Flames, and Ryan Petrick will respond. But what the Redbacks did was slow the game down. It became really grindy, really grimy. It wasn't a good game to watch realistically. 52 points scored by the Flames, but I'd be watching that as a scattering report because that's your template. On the other hand, East Perth Eagles get their first win. That's a talented lineup. They played against the Bunbury Slammers, and if they want to play or have any acknowledgement in the postseason, they need to win games like that, and they got that. Sivit Reef, incredible. He's a player to watch in this league. I reckon he's a potential NBL development player, but he had 34 points and 14 rebounds, and pleasing to see them get their first win for the season and first win for their head coach, Coach Philpo.
Huge storylines out of that game. Now, we mentioned last week Ryan Godfrey's milestone, which he did achieve at the weekend, but there was an even bigger one, if that's possible, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely right. The NBL1 has some incredible names that are, if you recognise across the league, and Seb Salinas is that. He's synonymous with what that his career with the NBL1. He's played now 500 games. He accumulated that. He started at the back then Stirling Senators, now Warwick Senators, then went to Wanneroo Wolves, now Joondalup Wolves, and now is at the Eastern Suns. And he had a sensational game, wound back the clock. He had 15 points, 7 boards, and 5 assists, unlike him to pass the ball. So it was really weird. He shot 5 from 7. The photos have been awesome. His kids out on the court there before the game, and there's no doubt he will eclipse the record held by Troy Clark, the all-time record in the men's. But But the way he's playing, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a few more years. Like, there was always this little, I know Seb very well, and there was a personal banter between us that he was just trying to eclipse that record. But the way he's playing and the way Eastern Suns are playing, they now sit at 6 with the second longest winning streak alongside the Redbacks. Leadership, you can't beat it. It's something that we all need. So good on Seb. 500 games, what an incredible feat. It's funny, some of those guys that are in this team, they weren't even born when he started playing NBL1. So well deserved all the acknowledgements that he gets along the way.
An unbelievable achievement. What a great servant of the game. So congratulations to Seb from all of us here at NBL1. And finally, as we wrap up the men's side of things, Greg, a couple of statement victories. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, well, Warwick Senators and the Geraldton Buccaneers, they went against two formidable opponents. Warwick on Saturday night were going against Perry Lake Hawks, who are still trying to embed Andrew Ferguson, who's just come back from Japan. But Warwick had a massive game, and they were missing Ethan Elliott, their starting point guard, who we know was at the Centre of Excellence last year. George Pell, he was sensational. He started the game hot. He had finished off with 17 points, 6 rebounds and 12 assists, but he had 9 at half time, and I was certainly thinking this is a triple-double. He's another unique player that I know Coach Brennan is a massive fan of and the Wildcats have had their eye on. And there'll be a dilemma, a good dilemma that Coach Brennan will have on what he does moving forward with both George Pell and Ethan Elliott. But unique weekend for Perry Lakes. They nearly lost to the Lakeside Lightning on Friday night, had to get the win in overtime, and then got pantsed, really, against Warwick on Saturday night. So they split that. Now, you talk about Willerton. They got trounced up in Geraldton, but that's a common thing across the league, to be honest. Geraldton's a fortress at home, and they had a dominant win. They won by over 20 points. Aaron Ralph, he really turned back the clock. He went in fuego. He had 24 points in 22 minutes. He really shot the ball well, as we know Aaron Ralph does. But Zach Katorna, he's been quiet to start the year. He's a guy that's obviously putting his hand up for a regular contract in the NBL. In the first half, I was worried. I thought this is another game where he's going to be quiet and he's held to single digits. But he exploded in the second half and he finished with 24 points, and he was good. He was sensational, had 5 from 8 from the 3-point line. And for him to, I guess, put his stake to get a contract, these are games that he needs to have.
Speaking of big stat lines, one certified star had one of those in the women's action at the weekend.
Yeah, Ash Eisenberger. Talking about an incredible weekend that she had. She had a triple-double on Friday night, but in a more uncommon way. She had 12 points, 12 rebounds, and then 10 blocks. And then to compound that, on Saturday night against the Warwick Senators, the defending champions, she hits a game winner off a step back. Huge weekend for the Perry Lake Hawks. They now sit at 6-3, and pleasing to see Ash Eisenberger. She's been in and out of WNBL lineups. Emma Clark, as we know, throughout this whole year, she's been spectacular. She just returned back from playing 3x3 basketball. She had 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists in that hit out against the Warwick Senators. But if you're going, who's the MVP this week? Back up with a triple-double on Friday night with a game winner on Saturday night. You can't go too far behind Ash Eisenberger right there.
I reckon that is the best weekend possible when you get a triple-double that includes 10 blocks and you host your own block party and then you hit the game winner in the second leg of a double. That is an unreal weekend. Speaking of unreal players, I was super excited to see one of my favourites sign in NBL1 West last week. Can you tell us who that is and who she's playing for and a bit about their weekend?
Yeah, not only one of your favourites, mine too, Meg. Lauren Scherf. She had an incredible WNBL season, and so might have been pretty much headlines the best signing that we've had all year, alongside Sammy Whitcomb in her little cameo appearance. But she signed for the Perth Redbacks. She's played over 200 WNBL games, so that experience and leadership certainly will help them out. But unfortunately, not on this weekend. Rockingham Flames are running rampant at the moment. They've now won 5 on the trot after losing the first 3 games. Mary Cracker, she played incredible. 28 points and 6 assists. And Taya Burrows, she's becoming a rebounding force. She had 15 boards. I don't know what she's drinking up there in Rocco, but she's playing really well. She had 23 points, and she had more rebounds than Lauren Scherf. So I know she would have been giving it to her, but that's really exciting to see. Obviously, I'm sure Lauren Scherf and what that looks like for her and next season. Perth Redbacks are struggling, as we know. They've only had one win this whole season. So should be huge for Coach Fletcher up there. But the storyline is the Flames. They were 50-point victors and they continue rolling.
Led by Taya Burrows, the TikToking star, which we love to see. And as we wrap up, Greg, there's just one women's team left undefeated.
Well, we spoke about the streak being broken for the Rockingham Flames, but the juggernaut of the Coburn Cougars continue rolling on. This week, they were always going to, high likelihood they were going to beat the Bunbury Slammers. But Jessie Edwards continues to do what she does. She had 29 points and 7 boards, and Sarah Mortensen. So, the Rockingham Flames, and when that looked like, that was always going to bound to happen. But Coach Tyrone Thwaites, he's doing some incredible things up there. And seeing those incredible women tick at this moment and continue undefeated is definitely a storyline to continue watching right here.
So many great storylines in NBL1 West. Greg High, thanks for sharing them with us. Enjoy the action coming up this weekend and look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks as always, Meg.
Time to talk all things NBL1 South, and when we do so with Matt Hickey. Great to see you again, Matt. Plenty to get into today.
Yeah, another massive round of NBL1 South action, and it was pink round, so always plenty going on.
It was a wonderful initiative. Great to see what the league, NBL1 South and the individual clubs did to get behind a very special round. Let's talk about a very special player who put up a very special stat line again. Callie Wilson, what can't she do?
An absolute superstar. We spoke about her last week. She had 19 dimes last weekend. This time around, how can you one up 19 assists? We'll just throw in a triple-double this time. So she had 11 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists against Dandenong. And it was a game I think many people thought Bendigo would cruise through, but Dandenong, the Rangers, really put up a fight. But then Callie Wilson just said, don't worry, guys, I've got this. Get on my back. I'm going to take you to the W, and the triple-double did exactly that.
So great to see two players at sort of different ends of their career in terms of their age, their youth, their experience, and in terms of what they've achieved with Nadia playing for Dandenong. She's a highlights machine, isn't she?
Oh, it's just so good to watch. And that's the great thing about the NBL1. We've got all of these players who want to play in this competition, and the level of play is so high, and it doesn't matter whether you're just coming through the ranks or whether you're an established superstar, you're going to get your opportunity.
And speaking of one of those players, she continues to do it for Mount Gambier. She's really brought the fireworks to NBL1 South.
Yeah, Mila Goodchild, another really big performance. And this one came off the back. She just helped Australia qualify for the 3x3 World Cup. She comes in what was the game of the week for me against Waverley, and it was a big win for the Pioneers. They came home 97-81 over the Falcons, and Goodchild finished with 37 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. I mean, when you go to Duke, you know you're good, but that was an excellent performance from Mila Goodchild.
Such a great game, two sides that are going great guns and potentially a finals preview there. But what is it about players that go and represent their country in whatever form it is? They come back pretty much fresh off the plane and then dominate in NBL1. It seems to be a real pattern.
Yeah, players just, I guess, getting used to and accustomed to that in and out style of play. And we saw Marina Whittle on Saturday night. She was also in that 3x3 team. She bounced back. She had 28 points and 12 rebounds for the Ringwood Hawks. So it's just the ultimate pros.
Speaking of, Chloe Bibby was another player who's recently been in action for Australia in 3-on-3 action. What did her NBL1 South weekend look like?
Yeah, a really big weekend for Chloe Bibby. She was actually playing against Marina Whittle on Saturday night for Frankston, and it was great to see those two go head-to-head, just such high-caliber players. It was Frankston who got the win that night. Chloe Bibby finished with, I was there. It was a relatively quiet 30 points and 7 rebounds, but I'd love to say at some point in my very, very short career that I had a quiet 30-point game, because they're quite hard to come by. That was a win for the Blues. On Sunday night, they didn't pick up the win against Casey, but she delivered 36 points, 8 rebounds and 4 assists, through 5 triples in there as well. Just an awesome weekend for Chloe Bibby.
Absolutely. Let's keep the Frankston Ringwood theme going as we move across to the men's division.
Yeah, it was a bumper night on Saturday night, that's for sure. And Frankston, the men got a little bit of a scare on Saturday night from a Ringwood team that many thought they were going to beat. And that was mostly because Jonathan Lawton, the import for Ringwood, had 7 steals. So anytime you see 5+ steals, you know that it's been some sort of defensive game from that player. And it was Jonathan Lawton this time around. He also had 25 points and 4 assists in the mix. It almost got Ringwood over the line, but the quality of Frankston just a little too strong in the end.
Tell us a bit about Wayne Stewart Jr. It sounds like it's a stud name. Is he a stud player?
He certainly is. Had a massive weekend for the Knox Raiders on Saturday night. They travelled to Ballarat. They won 99-92. And travelling to Ballarat when you've only got to play one game on the weekend is a big enough trip as it is. They then had to back it up on Sunday. But on Saturday night, Wayne Stewart Jr., had 34 points and 13 rebounds, 7 of them being offensive. Then they had to come back into town on Sunday and play Melbourne. They got another win there, winning 93-80, and he had 27 points in less than 25 minutes. So a massive weekend for Wayne Stewart Jr.
Yeah, he heated things up in very cold Ballarat, that's for sure. I can say that because I am from there. Now, let's finish with a leading scorer. Who is it, and why does he have those kind of numbers? Tell us about his weekend.
Gabe Hadley, a guy who's played some junior basketball at Dandenong. Now he's at Geelong, and he's just having a massive season so far. So across the weekend, they made the trip down to Tassie against Hobart. He had 22 points in a win, and then he had 32 against Northwest Tassie in a win as well. So he's the number 1 scorer in the league at the moment, averaging 25.5 points per game. He can give it to you in a variety of ways, lethal from beyond the arc, can get to the rim when he needs to. A great young player, Gabe Hadley.
Now, Matt, before we finish, give us a game in the men's and women's you're looking forward to this round.
We'll start on the Friday night. It's the men. We see Mount Gambier up against Sandringham, just 2 high-powered offences. This is going to be one for people like just, maybe don't love defence as much as seeing the ball go through the hole. This is the game for you, because I get the feeling it's going to be both teams over 100 in an excellent game on Friday night. And then for the women on Saturday, a really interesting clash, Knox v Frankston. And we mentioned Chloe Bibby earlier in the show. You throw out names like Lou Brown, you throw a very famous last name in Froling into the mix as well, and all of a sudden you've got a really exciting clash on Saturday night between the Raiders and the Blues.
Can't wait for those games coming up and plenty more. Matt, thanks for your time. Look forward to chatting again next week.
Always a pleasure.
Let's head up to the Sunshine State now and talk to our expert on the ground, John Guana. Welcome, John. We have a new MVP contender in the men's division.
We definitely have a new MVP contender. And listen, I got to say, I had him on my list last week. We didn't get to him, but man, round 7 certainly put a stamp on his contendership. It's Majok Dang from the table-leading Logan Thunder. On the weekend, 39 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists in a huge win over the North Gold Coast. On the season, he's averaging just the shade under 30 points, which is good enough for 3rd in the competition. He's the 2nd leading rebounder in the comp with just over 12 rebounds a game. He's also averaging 2 assists. He's shooting nearly 54% from the field, 80% from the free throw line. He's also blocking over a shot a game, which is 4th in the league. And Logan's sitting at the top of the table. I don't know how I didn't mention him last week. I promise you, hand on heart, he was on my list. I just didn't get to him. But, man, after this weekend, he's got to be right up there with Kadee and with Isaac White as an MVP contender for sure.
They are MVP numbers. And, John, I think I probably just didn't ask you enough contenders. Let's put that one on me.
Well, that's because I had so many of them. We needed a whole show just for that.
Yeah, we'll do a follow-up episode next week. Let's move on to Mackay because they are on a losing run.
Unfortunately for Mackay, they are. They were sitting up at the top of the table, undefeated just a few weeks ago. They've now lost 4 in a row after a tough road weekend. They went up to Cairns on Friday night and lost 1 to Cairns. Kai Statman had a huge game, 30 points, 8 rebounds. Isaac White did everything he could. He had 35 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. but Mackay loses one by 7 in Cairns. And when we talk about a tough road doubleheader, Cairns on Friday, then you got to travel to Darwin to play the Salties on Saturday, and that was the doing in of Mackay as well. The Salties came out and they won that one 102-88. Jerron Jamerson had a huge game in that one, just a shade under 30. He had 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. But Isaac White, again, another 30-point game. He's playing really well. He had to take a lot of shots for that one. Mackay switched things up a little bit, took DJ Baptiste out of the starting lineup and went a little small. Baptiste had a good game, 20 points and 12 rebounds off the bench, but it didn't help Mackay pick up that win. They've now lost 4 in a row. They are in 7th place, so still in the 8, and they still have an opportunity to get themselves back on track because they are a really talented group. Surprised to see them hitting this 4-game road losing streak, or I should say losing streak, full stop.
Yeah, can't wait to see how they bounce back this weekend and over the next couple of weeks. Let's finish our men's chat with a headline because Sapwell steers the Spartans.
He certainly did. Cohen Sapwell had a huge weekend, and the Spartans really needed it. They are hitting the injury bug at the moment. They lost Kobe McDowell-White early in the season with a leg injury. They then lost Alex Madronia with another leg injury, which means that they're down 2 of their key guards. Cohen Sapwell stepped up this weekend. I spoke to him after the game of the week yesterday. He says, I'm not a point guard, but guess what? He's have to play point guard for the Spartans, and he's doing a great job. On the weekend, they picked up 2 wins, 88-83 over Red City on Saturday night. Sapwell had 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. And then in the game of the week, the Battle of Brisbane in Auchenflower, the spiritual home of basketball in Brisbane. Spartans were trailing at halftime. They came back and had a huge third quarter, 32-7. They won that third quarter to lead them to a 96-90 win over the Capitals in that Battle of Brisbane. Sapwell in the third quarter alone had 17 points. He finished with 40 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. The Spartans are looking really, really good right now, and Cohen Sapwell is a huge part of that, steering that Spartan ship.
It's an unbelievable run of form for someone that's sort of stepping into the point guard position and he's making it his own. Let's move on to the women's side of things now because North Gold Coast had a big win at Logan.
That is probably the upset, not just of the season, but one of the bigger upsets that I have seen for a while coming. Logan, a full-strength Logan team. They had Michaela Ruth back. They had Lula Matuga back from over in the States. Michaela Can playing great basketball as well. But North Gold Coast played Logan pretty tough a few weeks ago. If you remember, Logan had to win it at the free throw line through Michaela Can. So maybe it's not as big of an upset as I'm making it out to be, but North Gold Coast goes into Logan, a full-strength Logan team, and comes away with the win. Lexi Held, their import guard, she's only been here for a couple weeks, and she's led them to a couple wins. She had 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Erin Riley, the captain for the Seahawks, 25 points, 4 rebounds, and also an assist. That's 2 wins in a row. The Seahawks are now at 3-4. They have another tough matchup this weekend against Townsville, but they're playing confident basketball. To go into Logan and pick up a win against the Thunder is the ultimate confidence booster, and the Seahawks are absolutely playing great basketball at the moment.
Yeah, shot in the arm for them. Tell us about the Wizards because they had to weave some magic.
They sure did, and they got a bit of a scare on the weekend. They were trailing by 2 at the Sunshine Coast this weekend. After leading most of the first half, the Phoenix were in the lead. So the Wizards, probably uncomfortable position for them to be in at this point in the season. They haven't really been pushed too much. But after this halftime, the Wizards took control in the third, and they basically cruised to a win. But I think it was a good shock to the system because they're playing confident, undefeated. Courtney Woods, I mentioned her as my MVP favorite. She certainly didn't disappoint in this one. 30 points, 5 rebounds. How about 10 assists for Courtney Woods? The point guard, like we were just saying for Cohen Sapwell. Courtney Woods has certainly adjusted really well. Nadine Payne had 22 points, 8 rebounds, and a couple assists in that one. And the Wizards, they are so talented, but man, the Phoenix pushed them. Phoenix at full strength are probably going to upset some people now that they have their full team together.
Especially in the second half of the season as that approaches. We spoke about the Spartan men. Let's touch on the Spartan women.
Yeah, Spartans women are full strength as well. Actually, they still have another import player to come in who I don't know who it is yet, but man, this group is playing great basketball led by the captain, Maddie Allen. On the weekend, they had an 88-50 win over Red City on Saturday night, which allowed them to use their depth. No one in that game played more than 25 minutes. Maddie Allen had 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in the win against Red City. They had 4 players in double figures, and then they had to back it up the next day. 11 o'clock in the morning start against their crosstown rival Brisbane Capitals, who are playing really good basketball, unfortunately without Abby Kabila, who's out with an injury she picked up in the game against Darwin. But Capitals played really, really well in the first half of that one. It was a really, really close game, but the Spartans pulled away in the second half. They won 86-68. Maddie Allen again had a huge game, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Jess McDowell-White looked great, probably one of her better offensive games since coming back into the NBL1 North competition. She had 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, and this Spartans group is a really, really tough group. They have an import, Gustafsson, who's come in as well, who's a very talented player. She was in a bit of foul trouble in the game of the week on Sunday, but to see who they bring in as an import, this is a team that could contend, and Maddie Allen is just bringing all of that energy and effort from her WNBL season down in Sydney, and she's just been fantastic so far for Spartans, and they're heading in the right direction. They're picking up a few wins on the trot at 6-4 in 6th place. It's a team to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, and great leadership by Maddie Allen, as you mentioned. Well, John, let's finish up with a couple of big stat lines from 2 games at the weekend.
Yeah, so Pirates on the women's side of things got a nice win against Gold Coast. Some really big numbers put up in that one. For Pirates, Leah Scott, 29 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. How about Maddie Rocci, 26 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. And not to take anything away from Gold Coast, because they had a couple of big stat lines as well. Catherine Reese, 32 points and 13 rebounds, not too bad. Ariana Mora had 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists, so not too far away from that triple-double. And I also want to give a shout-out to the Salties, 82-56 win against Mackay. Erin Bowman, she had a triple-double earlier in the season. She was close again, 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists in that big win over Mackay. So players are definitely putting up numbers, and we love to see those big stat lines.
We do. Some big names putting up big numbers as things heat up in NBL1 North. John, great job. Always great to catch up, and we'll see you again next week.